Welcome everybody to Empowerment Point and welcome to Business Dining with Deb, business treats and takeaways. We're here to help businesses have solid foundations and grow by bringing you experts on different business topics. Have you ever wondered how some people just breathe through their content creation and their funnel building, increasing both their authority and their lead generation? Well, you're not alone. Tonight I bring you two amazing branding gurus, Steph Zahalka and Michael Harris, which I'll introduce to you in just a moment. My name's Debbie Small and I'm the founder of Empowerment Point. You can watch our other episodes on my YouTube channel, Empowerment Point TV, and make sure you subscribe as well, so that way you find out when there are new episodes coming on board. Our sponsor for tonight is the wonderful Home Cooked Meals with Love. Now, we're in Melbourne down here. Well, I'm in Melbourne down here and we're in lockdown at the moment. And I'm finding in lockdown, more and more people are cooking delicious meals as well. So I wanted to give a boost to all those people who are cooking at home for their families and their loved ones and doing a great job at it as well. Just to let you know, I have my track sheet over here too that I'm going through just to make sure that we keep on track with you, because I have two very passionate people on board tonight and every time, so it's really, really good. So welcome to episode 10, Branding, Funnels and Storytelling to Grow Your Business. And as you can see, we've tweaked our show at the moment. Instead of having a live dinner party at home, which we had before, we're all on Zoom. Now, being on Zoom is actually a good thing for this too, because Michael is on the Gold Coast. Michael is in Sydney. Steph is on the Gold Coast. So we get to have people from all over Australia and at times around the world as well. So I want to introduce you to my two amazing guests. First, I'd like you to meet Steph Zahalka. Now, Steph is a branding badass, making you irresistible to your audience. Serial reheater of coffee, cooker of wickedly delicious food, total taco connoisseur, and founder of the newly rebranded Jungle Branding Co. When she isn't stuffing her face, Steph spends her time between fun family shenanigans and creating spectacularly strategic and stunningly beautiful brands for ambitious entrepreneurs. Creating brands that people become ridiculously obsessed with is a gift that shares space with her passion for uncovering, extracting, and expressing the purpose, the why, the values, and the identity of a person to turn this into a wildly in-demand brand. When a client is clear and confident in their brand, they are positioned for success, which creates a win-win-win for everybody. And that's what I love. I love a win-win-win. Steph has been featured on the cover of the nationally recognised GCGIB magazine, which is the Gold Coast Girls in Business magazine. She has won a major award in the 2019 Gold Coast Girls in Business Awards, a contributor to various online and printed publications, an article writer, guest speaker, panel expert, podcast interviewee, live Facebook and YouTube interviewee now as well. Welcome, Steph. Steph, what do you have for dinner tonight?
I have vegetable curry puffs, and for dinner I have red chicken curry. Nice. And dessert, I've got a pecan and hazelnut pastry braid thing.
Oh, wow, that sounds absolutely delicious. I think we may move business dining to Deb, maybe to you. We'll fly up there. Thanks for that, Steph, and welcome. Now I'd like to introduce you to the wonderful Michael Harris. So Michael is the driving force behind Axel Creative, a high-performance brand and content consultancy based in Sydney. With over 15 years of leadership and expertise in brand development, visual communications, content production and digital platforms, Michael works with the local and global clients to unlock clarity, consistency and charisma in the way they communicate. With formal qualifications that include an MBA and graduate level design, Michael is a uniquely qualified facilitator and coach at the intersection of core business strategy, audience engagement, and brand storytelling. Exactly what you need at that point there too. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Michael, what have you got for dinner tonight?
Tonight I have just a bit kind of antipasti nibbles to start. I have some olives and a little bit of salad. My is dukkha chicken. I don't know how to actually pronounce that right, but
no, sounds right.
And
not that I'm Indian.
Pumpkin and beetroot and onion salad with feta and a couple other things in there as well. And dessert, I'm going very simple. I have some dark chocolate, some strawberries, and coffee.
Oh, yum, yum. I think we might split between your places for business dining with Deb. I have for dinner, I've got garlic bread to start with. And then I have garlic prawns. So I was going to go spaghetti and garlic prawns, but I think being on live or being on video is like being on a first date. You probably shouldn't do spaghetti. So I've done just the garlic prawns. So there's a beautiful smell of garlic in the house at the moment, and I absolutely love it. And then, okay, I'm the bad girl here. This is a double chocolate cake with chocolate sauce, and it's a dark chocolate cake with chocolate sauce. So that'll last me probably a few days, I'd say.
That looks amazing.
It actually tastes amazing. I found online a chocolate sauce recipe that is so easy to make, and it tastes amazing. It's one of the best chocolate sauces I've had, and it's so easy to do. So I think it's time to start our dinner party. Okay. Now, I wanted to talk about first, and yeah, please make sure you eat. And anyone watching too, please make sure you're eating as well. It is a dining business show. And I just wanted to let you know too, we are live on Facebook. So if you have any questions, please ask your questions on Facebook. I've got my phone here, so I'll keep checking it. And also too, make sure that I will also ask questions that I think you might want to know as well, which is really important. So let's start. I first want to start with, I guess, the principles of branding. So the first thing we have, which I think is one of the most important things, is to know your why. Without knowing your why, you just don't know where you're going. And I say that it's like being on the corner of a street and I yell out to Steph, I might yell out, give me directions of where I need to go. And Steph says to me, well, where do you want to go? And I go, I don't know. So how can she give me directions to where I want to go if I don't know? So your why is the most important thing of why are you in this business? Why are you doing what you do? Guys, please, what are your feelings on this?
It's so important. You have to start with that sense of purpose. And for many people, you have to go back as well to ask, how you got to be where you are in business, why you started the business, why you do what you do. And it's very much about looking backwards and understanding your story in order to look forwards and create that brand that you're going to take with you.
It's your story that is why you're doing what you do, isn't it?
Exactly.
Steph?
Asking the why is the very first question that I ask in a strategy session. And I always put the disclaimer in that there is no wrong answer. Saying that you want to impact millions of people and, elevate consciousness is just as valid as I want enough money to travel first class. They're all valid reasons, but you need to know what it is because it's the starting point for all of your goals and business directions. And then you can put everything through that filter as well. It helps give you a lot of clarity what you're going to do with your brand and business, I believe.
No, I believe you're very right. There are also people who, a lot of people I know do have their why. Now, for those people who don't know what their why is, what is the best way to find out what their why is? Michael?
Gotta ask
Steph's
questions.
got food.
I just love the last answer. I'm waiting for more to come from. You've got to ask questions, and I think that's our main role to start with, is to just keep asking those probing questions that go back a layer. It's like, like an onion or a puff with the layers. You've got to peel it back, and the client always knows the answers, but they sometimes need that little bit of facilitation to actually help them articulate it and to put everything out and to do that. And often, you got to go back to that connection and that human story of, their own problem that they're solving in their business, something that they identified. Why did they start? And you just kind of keep unpacking it a little bit with that.
So really, they need to ask themselves the right questions, or ask questions. So why did you do this? I did this because. So why did you do that?
Yeah.
So as you said, Michael, peeling back that onion to get their why, which is really, really important. The next thing we spoke about was, go for it, Steph, please.
I also want to jump in and say about the why is I find I've put myself through my own brand strategy, and it's really hard to do that part by yourself. There's actually quite a few things that are really hard to do by yourself. You need someone to like pry it out of you, extract it. That's like one of the words that I use. Because you can journal and you can write and you go why, and it's very surface level, and ask why again. Okay, that answer, ask why for that answer. And you have to ask why until there is the very base bottom. Can't go any further. This is it. And it's really hard to do that by yourself. I think having someone to ask you and to delve into it with you and to keep bringing it out of you is so much deeper than what you can do by yourself, at least in my experience.
No, I agree with you. It always helps having someone help you through it as well. So no, totally agree.
And so it needs non-obvious answers as well. It's not the first, top of mind answers, but it's a different perspective often. It's little bits of information in that story that might be a tangent. Like, what do you do that's different to everyone else in your profession? You need to go back to that and to do it. I think we're gonna have to say we need to to keep this going. We could jump.
No, that's all, well. No, that's go on, Steph.
Well, that's a lot of people. It's really funny. I find pretty much maybe 100% of the people I've done this with is when you do ask their why, they always come up with the what will society think better of me for as my why. Like, I want to help people. Like, I want to know your selfish why. Your selfish why is the why underneath all of it, not the airy-fairy stuff that you think people want to hear. You have to go way deeper than that.
I find people can have two whys as well. One is for their clients, and the other one is their personal why that they're doing the business for as well.
Yeah, the selfish why.
That's it. And it may sound selfish, but it's not really at all.
No,
but it's about us.
Yeah.
So then we have a look at knowing their message. So let's have a bit of a talk about the message. What is it important to look at when we're looking at the message they want to portray in their branding?
Well, I think that when you look at your why in to begin with, it kind of explains where you've come from, but the messaging has to be looking like forward and what you're doing to help people, who your clients are and who your customer are, because like ultimately your messaging is about them and the transformation in their life. It's not about you. And so when you're talking about your messaging, you're starting to move away from you. So you need to start with a why, obviously, but it then actually becomes knowing about who your users are, what the transformation is you're going to actually bring to them, the change that they have, and start exploring that and really starting to understand that. And it's not the obvious answer is to, say a real estate agent, obviously they sell houses, but you're actually selling the memories that you're going to have in the houses, the parties, the connection, all of that. So it's looking forward, and it's starting to bring the audience into that, because then that's your messaging, talking about that.
Yeah, the messaging. Yeah, the messaging is further down the track. That doesn't come up in my strategy sessions till towards the end, because there's a whole heap of other stuff that you need to figure out and really get clear on.
So what do we need to look at?
Well, you need to know what. So many people sell features and benefits, or they sell, the modules or the little bullet points of what they're doing, and you really need to figure out what is the reason that your client or audience would even want or need your service. What is the underlying reason? What is their selfish reason behind it? And you have to talk about that. So you need to figure out who your audience is first, what you actually do, what the results are, and infuse it. Your messaging has to have your brand voice and personality and identity behind it. So the messaging, I'm sure Michael will probably agree, the storytelling, that comes after you know everything else. You need to figure all that stuff out first.
Okay.
Otherwise, you could be saying something that's completely not even relevant, or it's what you think they want to know, but it might not actually be what it is that they want. So you need to market research. You need to really, really know your audience.
Okay. So for the principles of branding, then, what are the other things that we need to make sure of before we go into that messaging?
Clarity is the most important thing. Knowing exactly all the things that Steph just mentioned about, so like obviously your why, but then like what it is that you actually do. What are the, what do your packages look like? How do you go to market? Where have you come from? What makes you unique? All of those different elements, having absolute clarity about that, because I think people have, a vague idea, but you need to talk about it, opinionated. Got company for dinner.
I'm sorry, that scared the hell out of me.
It's good. But yeah, so I think you need to make choices, and often people are really worried to exclude audiences or products, and so to say, actually, no, this is what I do. You need to be really specific and focused. Doesn't mean that you can't serve other people, but you need to know who it is that you're targeting, who your ideal client is, in the sense of who you're going to bring the most benefit to, who you love working with. What makes you come alive as you're doing that, and that clarity then interprets how your brand is put together, how you start to shape it. I think with the messaging that Steph was saying, that you do it at the end, I actually think a good metaphor for that is you kind of start with a clump of clay, and as you start the process, you put it down next to you, and then bit by bit, as you go through that process, that messaging changes, and you're working on it, you're kneading it. It's going to end up looking completely different to what you think it is, but it's something that will evolve. It definitely isn't something that is what you think it is when you first put it down. It needs to change through that whole process and that whole strategy as it comes together.
I think everything evolves as we go through, because we're learning every day. So we're evolving, so our business evolves as well. So part of the principles that we talked about, correct me if I'm wrong, Steph, as well, was knowing your mission and your vision. Is that something you look at in the beginning as
your
well?
mission. No, actually, I do my whole strategy. I've got a really in-depth questionnaire, not a questionnaire that you hear a lot of branders give, like, what's your favorite color? What fonts do you like? Stuff like that. It really, really dives in. First question is about the why, but the mission, once I know a whole range of things about their service, their industry, their competitors, their audience, client psychographic, like a giant range of things, during the strategy session, the one-on-one workshop that I have, that's where I extract the mission. And I don't do, this is one of the things that really annoyed me. Like when I've had business coaches and stuff or learn these things, like, what's your mission statement? And then they give you a piece of paper with like 6, 7 lines on it. And they're like, write your mission statement. Say what? Like, how do you even know what that is? People don't know what it is. They don't know how to figure it out. That's our job as an expert. We figure that out. So I ask the right questions and pretty much put it together in this formula that I have that pretty much writes the mission statement itself. Like after I pull all this information, it's your mission is who you're helping, how you do that, and what they get from it, basically, in like a nice, pretty little paragraph, basically. A couple of sentences that sums it up. And it's hard to get that until you know, again, all the other stuff.
And your vision statement?
The vision is what your business, what you want for the future, the impact you want to make in the future. And that's kind of like the end trajectory that your business can follow. So if you have a big company or employees or a team, it's something that should be everywhere and they should all know it, because every decision they make, everything they put out, everything they offer should have that vision in mind, because you find so many businesses that have no idea which idea to do, which way to go, which to follow, and they're just throwing stuff out here and there. But if you have your vision and you know exactly where you want to go,
you're aligned.
You just put it through that filter. You put it through the filter. Is this going to get me here? No, not really. We'll do that later. What's going to get me going here to my vision, the vision of the company and what impact I want to make? So it's a really good way of filtering out and making decisions throughout your business.
Really fast too.
Yeah.
Which is really important in business as well, because there are people who do tend to do other things too instead of following exactly what their vision is and making sure that everything they do is aligned with that as well. Okay, so is there anything else in regards to, I know that we talked about pricing, we talked about know what your assets are. Yes, make sure you eat. I'm on the prawns. Oh my God, that looks so good, Michael.
It really looks amazing.
It does look amazing. So does yours, Steph. Looks delicious. Oh, we're all having a good night. Okay, so what other principle of branding do we need to make sure to look at?
I think one, not necessarily a principle, but a way to remember as we're looking at this is that we're talking about brand identity, but what a brand actually is what, what other people think of you. And like, that's actually what your brand is ultimately, that you're signaling your identity, who you want to be, like the language and that identity. And that's why you need to be consistent about it. You need to know what it is. But ultimately it's actually, it's your customers, your clients, your audience, even your haters. Like it's their experience of you that shapes what their brand is. It's, it's the message that they tell someone else in that experience. And so I think it's also important to not just focus on your logo and the colors and, the physical things. Your brand is in everything. It's the way that, your team answer the phone for a question. It's the way that you respond to people. It's, it's in every single part of your product and the product experience, in the, how trustworthy your product actually is. Are people going to, become repeat customers? That is your brand. And, the logo and the colors are very important. That, they create that consistency. They can create something that people can recognize. It shows that expression of personality, and all of that is absolutely vital. And, I obsess over which typeface is going to be right for a company or for a message that's going. But ultimately, your brand could take away all of those elements and it still needs to be recognizable, and it still needs to be like positive. And that comes down to the way that it's expressed. And that comes down to your team not just knowing it, but living it and understanding those values going into everything that you're doing. And kind of, you can't just rebrand something and make it pretty and send it off to marketing and that's it. It's actually, no, this is a very, very holistic concept, is the brand identity of the company, of the business, and what you're doing.
And people do forget, they forget that the branding is the voice, and it's everything that you do. And it encompasses all of that together. The one thing I was struggling with in the beginning too was, and I'm sure there are other people out there who may think the same or who have thought the same, is whether you brand yourself or whether you brand your business. So I know personal branding is a huge, big thing at the moment. The only thing with branding yourself and not your business, I find, is if one day you want to sell your business, you can't sell it if it's just you. But if you've got a branding business as well, encompassing that, then it's a lot easier to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it depends on your vision.
Everyone's
what's your goal?
Yeah, that's very true too. I think some people just want, like I just wanted to be able to, with mine, have the option later on to do what I wanted to do with it, whether I wanted to keep it or whether I was happy to sell it to the right person, which I don't think I want to, but it's for me it's a legacy. But it still gives me options later on as well. Now you're saying as well, put an image of yourself, not your logo.
When? Where?
Is that
no, just in general.
Generally.
Sorry?
I was asking who you were saying that to.
Oh, both of you. Just in regards to people want to get to know people. Instead of having just a big picture there, they actually want to get to know who's behind the picture, who's behind the business. You know, who are we trusting here? Are we trusting just a logo, or are we trusting this person with our business, or to help make our business better as well?
Exactly. I mean, people connect with businesses, and you think even like the biggest brands in the world that obviously don't have a single person as like their face of the company, although often they do have a charismatic leader who like people would recognize. But you look at all their advertising, it's about people. It's about bringing people together. It's like, it's very visible in what they're actually doing, because people buy from people. People connect with people. And I don't think it's a very good idea to start a business that doesn't actually have that personal element and that connection to you, because it's not going to be compelling enough to do that. And to your point about whether it's, you brand the person or you brand the company, I think there's a duality about it, that, you can't have one without the other. That even if now you think, it's just you might be starting a business as like a solopreneur or a coach perhaps, and you're building that business, but you got to ask, where are you going to go? Are you actually building this identity in a way that means that you can bring other people into the team eventually? Like, what is that end point? Like, where do you see yourself going? And if you leave the company that you're in, or you've started, or what it is, are you actually building that identity that's going to go with you, that connection, that professional identity, and the rapport that you're building with people as well? Because you might move on to other ideas and other ventures, but you're still very much that professional identity stays with you.
And that's my favorite part of business, is building great relationships with people. That is what I absolutely love to do in business. So yeah, it's really important. I think now, years and years ago, it may have been about, this is the brand, but more and more it's becoming about, and is about, the connection of people and the relationships people are making, and the help that people are giving is what it's all about. Let's have a chat about your branding voice. Why is it important to have a branding voice?
I think, again, it comes down to the whole getting to relate to someone, connecting with them, consistency. The consistency one is a big thing. And also too, I'm real big on is, so many people, we're moving out of that now that everybody's online and wants to connect more and trying to be way more authentic. A lot of times before, people had this like professional persona for their brand. And when people start moving into more of a personal brand or being the face of their company, it's really hard work to be something you're not, and to have a fake persona and a fake brand voice. it's a lot of hard work, because every time you write something or put something out or do marketing, you have to adhere to that. And you're not being yourself. And then if you're working one-to-one with clients, as opposed to a company who just sells products to the masses,
Yeah.
if you're working with coaches again, or someone like us, one-to-one, you've got this persona here, this prim and proper professional persona that's fake, but you're this way, and then they come and work with you, you might not gel with them. They might be a really terrible client, or you might be a terrible service provider for them, because they're attracted to that prim and proper, if that's not really who your brand is, and you're faking that, and they'll be attracted not to you, and you're not going to be attracted to them. That's kind of like a little internal thought that I had about that. But your brand voice, it just gives flavor to your messaging that people can relate to. And it's about connection and emotion.
I did a video in someone's group, this is ages ago, and I sat there and I practiced it and practiced it and practiced it, and then I did the video, and I watched other people's videos, and everyone else was like just going onto a live and doing a video, and mine looked so like professional and worked out that I actually deleted it because it didn't feel real. And I redid it, just doing it just normally, because it just felt
like
so
script.
flat. Sorry?
A script. It's like a script. People can connect with it.
That's what it felt like.
And it's also the consistency, 360-degree picture of a brand. It's part of the identity, personality, identity, the way you look, what you wear, your face, your thoughts, your soul, your voice. It's all part of it. You need every single piece to that puzzle to fit. Otherwise, you're going to have a puzzle that doesn't make any sense.
True.
And the human brain does not like confusion. It doesn't like things that don't fit right. It wants to fix it, or it runs away and doesn't want to look at it. And you don't want to do that to potential clients.
And the easier we make things and more consistent and more aligned for clients as well, the easier it's more user friendly for them as well. And the whole client, what's the word I'm looking for? The client travel, the client with you.
Journey.
Thank you. Journey. Welcome to Thursday night. The client journey. It makes it a lot easier for them as well, which is really important. And I just want to say to people too, there are a number of people who say, but it's not perfect. I just need to tell you that there is no such thing as perfection. People want to see the real you. You know, what I think is perfect, you may not. What you think is perfect, I may not. And what we both think is perfect right at this moment, in a week's time, we may change our mind, because during that week, you and I have had different experiences as well that may have changed our mind of what we thought. So there is no such thing as perfection, doesn't exist. Get your work out there. And, you know, in business, it's about tweaking as you go. We call it, we have an A-B that we have a look at. We send something out, we may tweak it and send A-B testing, send another one out. And it's all about trial and error, which is really important, because if we wait to be perfect, and I used to be a perfectionist, I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Everybody is.
If you wait
we
to
all
be
are.
perfect, it'll never happen. And, you know, it's really important now that we do get our stuff out and we do start doing the things that we want to do, and we get the branding right. However, we also realize that there is no such thing as being perfect, because we keep changing it and we rebrand and we change things, which is good.
It's an evolution, and you've got to hold that consistency.
Yep.
and like being really intentional about being consistent in one hand, but then also allowing your brand to evolve over time. It's like, you know, like a website, for example. You shouldn't just build a website and that's what it is for the next 2 years, and then you invest a whole lot more money in a new website. You know, you need to build the foundation of it properly so that it can, you can add content and it can grow and evolve and change and grow with what you're doing and the different applications of what you need it to be working for you. And that brand is the same. You know, Coca-Cola, as an example, is a brand where the logo fundamentally hasn't changed in like the entire span of, but you know, every year they're refreshing the design of their cans or the way they're doing their
bottles.
So it's, you know, there is that evolution that goes, but they're still maintaining that that core consistency at the same time as that evolution as well. And you have to be intentional to answer your question as to why you need to think about your brand voice, is that you communicate through everything. Like, you're communicating a message no matter what. So you need to be intentional about it. And particularly if you're in a situation where there's more than one person, you need to make it sound the same. You need to know the way that you speak, whether if you're formal or informal, whether you're professional, whether you're technical, confident, charismatic, energetic, whether you need to actually convey a sense of authority. If it's something that you're doing, like a fire safety company needs to be able to, give a really serious message. You need to fine tune it exactly to what your message is and that purpose, and be very intentional and conscious of that as you go along.
Yeah, and then you just need to also be careful if you're going to get a VA to do your social media as well, to ensure that they're using your brand voice, which is really important.
I was just going to say that it's also, a lot of businesses say, well, I don't need to know that. That's just extra stuff later when I'm really big. Or they just feel no sense of needing it, like it's a requirement. But I'll say this right now, that if you know your brand voice, your messaging, and you have your branding right, you will save so much money. Like, I don't know if it's hundreds, it could be thousands, it could be tens of thousands. It depends on how much you spend on marketing, how much you pay an ad manager, how much you fork over to pay for ads. If your brand voice is correct, the amount of revisions and testing and tweaking will be a lot less. You will not be throwing money away on testing. Same with the website. It will be done. And copywriters, web designers, marketers, they love branders, because when people come to us first and then we give them what we've done, they're like, I know exactly what to write. You are saving so much money that I don't have to revise this 10,000 times to make it sound like you.
And that's one of the reasons I brought you guys together tonight, is because branding is not always easy for people, and we'll talk storytelling and funnels as well. And so I want to try to make it as easy for business owners as possible to do what they do best. And, if we can actually help them with their branding, with their storytelling, with their funnels, and, let them do what they do best, that's when people shine. That's when people can grow, which is really exciting as well. Okay, so we've talked about the purpose of being aligned, your branding voice, your branding feel. So how does your branding feel touch emotion? Michael? Sorry. It's a dinner show.
Now full of food.
All good, all good.
I think this comes back to the fact that, people connect to people, that emotion is how we react to things. It's how we make decisions. And you need to appeal to people's emotions as well. And that needs to be in what you're doing. People are going to have a reaction, as I said before, with like a tone of voice, you're going to be communicating something. People are going to have an emotional reaction in some way to what you're doing. So you actually need to be mindful of that and connect into that.
It's like all social media as well. When you post something, think first. I find that at the moment, I can't say nobody, a lot of people don't think on social media and they just post. Whereas I will write something, but I will think about it before I actually post it, because I want a certain objective from it, and it's not fighting back and forth that I want, which seems to be happening a lot on social media at the moment.
That's actually the very first thing that I'll always ask clients. So I do a lot of work with content. So once the brand has actually been established and we're using it, we're creating that content that's going out consistently. The very first question with any piece of content is, what is the purpose? What is the objective? Because that changes what you're actually doing. If you're sending an email, is there a really vital bit of information about it? So say, there's an event that's coming. The obvious, information that you need to have is the date, the time, what it is, and, how, if it's like a Zoom event, there's a link to it, or how to register. That's the most important thing. If there's a message that you're sending, if there's an announcement or a new product or a change, don't bury the lead. Know what it is that's actually most important and what that objective is in what you're doing, and put that first, because it does change what you do, the way you put something together. And it also allows you to remove the other elements that are just going to be noise, that are just going to take away from that message. And you can,
like what?
Clarity. Well, I mean, often people write, you know, there's a famous, I can't think of who it is who says it. There's a famous saying that's apologizing for writing a long letter because I didn't have the time to write a short one. That it takes time and energy to write succinctly and very specifically. But people waffle on a lot, and they include details that are just not necessary, or they bury the lead like 3 paragraphs into an email or a blog post. You know what is the most important thing and start with that. Don't beat around the bush. You don't have to, give the whole context again. Think about if you're sending emails and you have people who are potential clients and you have people who are clients. No one who is a client, and say for example, there's a webinar in the middle, that often, you run a webinar or a workshop and people go from being potential to being your clients. The people who are your clients now, you shouldn't be advertising that webinar to them in the same way you did before. You need to be aware of that change. And, perhaps the messaging could be like, do you know anyone that this would benefit? There are other messages that you could bring into it, but you need to have that awareness and actually target what that piece of content is. That awareness of what's going on around is just really important.
So it's really not about getting that content out as fast as you can and hitting on all those social media points and doing all of that. If we haven't thought it through beforehand and put a proper plan together, then all of that is just costing us more time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when you do just do things really fast and, getting everything out, you're not being intentional at every step of that process. So that, often people will put all this energy into videos, into, to Facebook Lives that they're doing, which is fantastic for the community that you've got and engaging the people that are already connected in. But, someone who's not invested in the brand or the community or knowing who you are, they're not necessarily going to take the energy and the time that it's going to take to actually to go into that video or to read that article. Or, maybe they're on the train in normal non-COVID times, scrolling through, they can't listen to it. They can't see it. So, how can you take that content out and actually kind of, make it a flatter edge for people to be able to come into your community? The ways that you can simplify things. Not all content is equal either. Not all content is worth investing hours into. There are things that can be simple and can be just like a short, a little bit of effort, and other things that are worthwhile. And if you're investing the time into it, make it a blog post that's going to get you, great SEO on your website for years to come. Invest into a video that really explains your product and demonstrates it well. Be just really, conscious of how you're investing that energy and that time in content production.
And that's really important too. Very important to do. Very important. We talked about being strategic the whole way through in regards to our content. And I'm just about to ask the question. Michael just took a bite, so I'll hold on to that for a moment. I want to continue talking about storytelling, but just before we do, on the branding side, are there any other bits of information that's really important for people to know or to take away to actually utilize straight away?
I think, we haven't really talked about it yet, but I think your brand values are very important.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the things that is up there with your vision, mission, values and stuff, because it's another filter system for your brand, basically. Like if your brand is adventurous and tenacious and bold and, integrity and stuff like that. So is what you're putting out, and even coming to the storytelling part, which I am not an expert in the storytelling part at all, that you have to you have to put everything through a filter. Like, is this in alignment with my brand? So branding is basically like your compass, really. It's the face that you're putting out to people. It's what they connect with. It's the compass. So I think the values, you really need to know your values, which also directs your personality and the identity, which then directs what kind of clothes you wear and what your face is and what kind of car you drive. Not as you as a person, but when it comes to the style and mood of your brand, which then leads to the design. So everything kind of leads on to the next thing. But a lot of people forget about the values and personality and stuff, and they just go straight into, this is my service. These are the kind of clients I want. And I really love rose gold and geometry, and I want a logo, but not too flowery. You know, it's that they've got it real surface level. They're playing at the top of the iceberg, and there's a whole bottom of the iceberg that people are ignoring, and it's detrimental to your business.
And playing on top of that,
you're not booked out.
And playing on top of that iceberg is what too many people do. Playing underneath that is where you stand out from the rest.
Without standing out.
In a bad way. No, in a good way.
I'm anti-stand out. I make you stand out.
Well, we had on the show last month Diana Nguyen, who is an actor, comedy, and LinkedIn guru as well. And she's been doing things quite differently by dancing and comedy and other stuff as well, and getting all that out too. And it's a little bit different. I mean, it's part of what she does, but it's not something you see on LinkedIn all the time, or you see on social media at certain points. And so it's a great way to stand out from the crowd. And
she's developing her brand,
yep,
her style, and people will remember her for it. And that's what branding is. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Do I want to know? No, I'm joking. It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's perception, and you can direct it if you do it right.
And that's I think perception is, it's you internally, it's what you put out, and then the colors or your logo that comes on top of that. So I know even with my colors, I chose them specifically for certain reasons. And my logo as well, that was designed from knowing all about my business and what's happening with the business. So I love both of those. And for me, it's about doing something consistently with my brand as well. So even for this show, Business Dining with Deb, I put a picture on top of a photo I took 2 New Year's Eves ago. I love city lights, love it, love it. And Melbourne has beautiful city lights. So I took this amazing photo and I put our photo on top of that. And when people see it, they already know that it's me because they've seen it before, and it's the same type, just different people. So that's a bit in regards to mine. I want to talk about, whilst we're talking about this, I want to talk about design and style guide from both of you. What's important when you're looking at design and style?
Well, first of all, it makes sense, but it needs to not just be your favorite colors as well. There needs to be like a system and purpose behind what you're doing.
What if it's both? What if your favorite colors did actually have a purpose as well?
That's okay. We're not saying it can't, but that's where people start, and it's the wrong place to start. It could end up being a very pretty, very common watercolor splash with the flowers and stuff. But if your audience wants that, buys from that, is attracted to that, then it is perfect for you, and you may love it.
I mean, a brand has to fit naturally as well with what you're doing and who you are. And so, often there is a commonality in that as well, that, things that you do like in the way that you express yourself, it may be a natural fit, but, the reasoning has to go deeper.
Yeah.
We have to come to that conclusion by doing these things before deciding that first.
Yeah. You need an objective framework as well to evaluate.
Strategy.
It's not just, sorry?
A brand strategy.
You need that strategy that's there. But also, like, you know, a style guide is not just, you know, your logo, here's a font, here are the colors. It's actually about the expression of that. It's about, you know, this is the way that we talk visually. This is the way that we put things together. It needs to get to a point that when you are creating something for a client, that it just comes so naturally that, you know, you don't have to think or ask really. You know that, you know, a bit of art collateral or artwork is going to be approved because, you know, it just naturally is the brand. You don't have to think about it after a while. And so there's a lot more nuance to it. And a good style guide is actually about being able to communicate that effectively so that, you know, people who are on your team, other people, other suppliers that you might be bringing in, that they're not going to just be making up things about your brand and trying to fill in the gaps. They know exactly, just naturally, this is how it looks. This is how it fits and feels.
So having a look at storytelling, Michael, if I want to create content for my business. I want to teach people. What is the best way to look at creating the right content for your business?
Well, you need to think first of all about what value your audience are going to get from the content.
Yeah.
You need to be not just selling to them and having adverts or even just random content that doesn't make sense to what you're doing. You need to think, okay, what is that purpose for someone actually following you, for being in your audience in the first place? What value can you get? I think often you need to actually take their experience of what you do. Say you run sessions with people, you know, try and find like a micro moment, like a teachable concept that's from what you're doing and take it out. Give them an experience of what you're actually doing. If you're selling a product, you know, you need to be able to have content that takes them into how that product is going to change their lives, how it's going to change what they're doing.
Right.
But you have to think about the audience and the users and your clients and what's going to be practical. What are they going to like? And ultimately, like, to get the best value of it for your business as well, what are they going to share? You know, that's a good framework actually to do it. Is if something is worth sharing with a friend and sending it, you know, why do memes go viral? Really, yeah, it's because it's, you know, it's about that shared connection. There's a value, there's an idea or a joke that's like a running joke with your friends. And so you send it to them. It's the same idea. You want it to be that someone's like, this is great. I know like a friend who's going to find this really helpful, and they forward it on.
So tell me about the storytelling and the content together.
Well, to say,
just before you do, sorry, Michael, I just want to check on Facebook. Guys, if you have any questions at all, feel free to put it onto Facebook and I will ask those questions for you live as well. We don't have any questions at the moment, but we have people watching, so hello to everybody. Okay, go for it. Sorry, Michael.
I was just going to say that the storytelling is in everything that you're doing. So when you create content, like, you are telling that story, you are shaping that story and that narrative that's going. You know, you need to remember that in the back of your mind. You know, the content needs to be connected. It's not a single bit of content. You put something on social media, that's not like, it doesn't stand alone like an island. Everything is connected. Last week, start building up that story. How do you know? Is there a theme that goes through what you're actually doing? You know, people aren't going to they're not going to consume everything you create, and they're not going to consume just one thing that you create.
Can you give us an example?
Say you're like a life coach. You know, you could actually, if you've got a community that's on Facebook or across email and like other platforms there, create a theme for what your week is actually going to focus on. So pick something from the values from what you do, and that way you can actually, you know, create multiple bits of content that if you have a Facebook Live video every single day, build on that, break down, like you start at the beginning of the week, break down that topic into, you know, 5 different things that you can actually really dig deep in. Make sure that it's deep enough. It's not just surface level. And actually you have that theme that builds on day to day, because if you're just coming in with a fresh new topic, people aren't going to engage with that. But if you know, they may have seen a little bit of this and a little bit of that that's going along, and then finally they're actually watching the video and everything just comes together.
So breadcrumbs.
Yeah, breadcrumbs, exactly. I think you stole my word, one of my favorite words that I haven't used yet. But I think that it's like the breadcrumbs that you're bringing people in, and that, which is, like I said before, you need to not just have like the really substantial content, anchor content, if you will. You actually need to break it down into snippets and highlights, so that someone can actually pick it up and then going to go, oh, that's really interesting. I'm going to read a bit more. I'm going to see this. I'm going to watch that video. Oh my goodness, this is a fantastic resource or a download I can get from the website. Oh, now I'm reading about everything else that you're doing. And it grows from there.
And not just also talking about your products, but also your own personal as well. Getting you out there on social media. I always had a problem years ago, anything personal on social media. And that's since changed because people connect with people.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to be comfortable, first of all. And because if you're sharing details that you are not comfortable sharing, that discomfort is going to come straight through to your audience.
Yeah.
Like straight away. So, and if, for example, you're on Instagram and you have a public persona, people know you as a public identity, and you don't want people to see, your social events or what you're doing, put your profile on private. We have privacy settings, we have different things.
Yeah, there's nothing really private on the internet. Like the internet is, no matter how many privacy settings you do, it's the internet.
That's what they say. You should never put any piece of content anywhere. You should never text someone something that you're not happy to show your grandmother. You need to have that level of, of ownership of what you're creating and what you're doing.
I said to somebody how a teen how they needed to have be careful what you put on Instagram. Oh no, but it's private. No one sees it. I said, if you want to do something where no one sees it, go buy a photo album.
Yeah, well, even then, that probably preserves it another way for a long time as well. But I think that's.
And don't forget the people developing your photos. I'm sure they've seen a lot.
I'm sure they have. God help them all.
It's also something that people also forget is that the internet is going to have a very long memory. That a website might go down and be lost eventually, but there are services that actually archive your website. And for most businesses, I can actually go back and look up your URL and look 5 years ago and see exactly what you look like, what it looked like. You can go back and see Apple's website back in the year 2000 and what they were doing. Like everything is actually preserved in that way. And on sites like Facebook and with Google, they're not going away. That information is going to be preserved for a very long time. And you need to be really mindful of that. And it's harder to go back and to try and change your message after the fact. So, it really starts with knowing who you are. The same questions that you ask as you create your brand, you need to ask yourself, who are you as a person? Who are you as a professional? And what is that message that you want to communicate and convey to people? Branding isn't just for business. As you give a message in the way that you do everything, just make sure that it's intentional. There is no right or wrong answer, but you need to be intentional about it. And Steph, do you have anything to add to that?
You look like
I say branding is everywhere, whether you think you're doing it or not. Look at Tinder. Those pictures you put up, the stuff you write on your bio and your profile, that's your branding.
Haven't been on there.
But I'm just saying, dating apps
doesn't
even have to be in business. That's your brand, right?
And you can't as well. Like the number of times that I hear people who are connected in business purely on a very professional level that come across someone else on Tinder, and you need to be conscious that that is potentially going to influence conversations. The world is connected now. Like there is no way to separate it, really, short of not being on a platform that you don't want.
We used to have 7 degrees of separation. I think that's gone down to like 3 or 4 now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is quite interesting. We talked about With the evolution of the story, every story is different. So people need to look at their own, why they do what they do. What's the most important part of a story to first be able to talk to your clients about through content?
The first part is them. You need to focus on them. People aren't going to care about you and what you can sell until you've actually connected with their context, with where they are and what they're doing. How can you actually help them? And okay. So often I think that, you know, say you're a startup and you're pitching, maybe it's for funding, or, you know, you're trying to get more customers in. Often people go straight to the features and, you know, all the amazing technology that they've got there. That's all stuff about you. People aren't interested in that. You need to go back to the problem. You know, if you've got a new app that's on the phone that you're selling, you know, there's a problem that you're solving. There's a problem that this came from. Go back to that, because that experience is where you need to start with that connection. You can go into all the other information after that, you know, and you need to, but you need to start there.
So even though you might be sharing your own story and the things that's happened with you, you still need to bridge that and connect that to your clients and to the people who you're sharing that with.
Got to think, you know, are you Yoda or are you Luke? You're like, you know, you're Yoda on the back. You're the champion of the client, trying to help them realize their potential. You're not the hero of this story. And, you know, it doesn't matter how amazing what you do is. It's about actually empowering and enabling whatever your service is. It's about, you know, unlocking that in your client, and to that focus, like you're there, you're part of the story, and, you know, you need to be reassuring on what your product is, like the details and the features that you have. Obviously that has to be there, but it's not where you start. That comes secondary to that.
And how do we, when everyone talks, you know, we need to give value, what is giving value? Because it changes for depending on what people's reasoning for watching it is, but what is giving value?
Well, for one, it's not vanity. So it's not just doing something like, you know, your selfie just because you want to, you know, you like your new outfit to post that on your business social page. Like, that's not valuable. You know, you got to question it, and it's going to be different for every business, for every person. So, you know, what is it that people are actually resonating with? And I think this is where data and analytics come into it. People can obsess about data way too much. And, you know, Facebook likes, they'll put a post up and it's sort of like, I didn't get 20 likes or something straight away. And it's like, oh, it was a disaster. It's like, well, no. First of all, there's a lot of other reasons why you might not be getting engagement and traction. But what you need to look at is that overall story. What is actually resonating with people? And, you know, you're not going to come up with the answers just straight off the bat. The way to do it is actually to try different bits of content, to put it out there, try different angles or perspective or ideas.
So it's, again, test and try and test.
Exactly. I mean, stay true to your brand, stay true to your values and what you're doing, but don't be afraid to experiment and change things. But also, you know, give it a couple of goes as well. Don't just put one post and say, oh, no one liked it, so it's no good. You know, post once a week the same type of content to see, you know, what that response is, and really listen to the feedback as well.
There's also to repurposing your content as well. So that would be, you know, if you see your content's working well for you, rewrite it or put it on video or do something a bit different with it to use it on other platforms as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, you don't have to start from scratch with every piece of content that you write. You know, there's going to be similarities about it. In the same way that you're talking about the same topic, you know, you're not going to say word for word what you said before, but, you know, you have somewhere that's something to start with. And it's the same with that content. And often you have the same bit of content, but you need to think about who the audience is on a different platform. So on LinkedIn, for example, you've got business people and that connection. Whereas, you know, someone following you on Instagram or Facebook, they might be more directly interested in your product. So say
make that one a bit more fun or do something a bit different, or
or it's just a slightly different slant on it as well. Like, the professional connections can help you in a different way. And you know, unless you are a B2B service, then, you know, then you're your target market as well. But it's just being aware of what the differences actually are on the platforms and just reframing things a little bit.
So really that comes down to know who your client is, know your avatar, but also know on each platform that you use, people are looking for something slightly different on each of those platforms as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, not just thinking about your actual clients as well, but who influences them. So say, there might be one single person in a company that actually makes the decision, that, signs the agreement or signs the check that goes to you. But, you need to get a whole lot of other people on board with selling, with implementing an idea. If you're bringing in a brand, you need to actually establish that trust with your community to engage in that process, to be asking other people questions in the community and finding those answers. It's not just one single person. Who are the influencers in that? Why do people actually buy it, and where are they? Because that message and having that brand awareness and reputation is just as important, and factoring that into different platforms as well.
Very true. And everything we're speaking about tonight is so important. You may also decide to watch it over and over again, and you'll hear different things and pick up different things, because without your branding and your content, it's not going to work properly. So it's really, really important. And we're so lucky now. Years and years ago, it was all about television, newspaper, and magazines. Now it's so easy to market ourselves and so easy to do what we need to do because of the fact that it's social media, and we can upload things in seconds, and we don't need to go through a journalist or somebody else to do that. So it's a lot easier to do. Well, thank you for that, Michael. I want to talk about funnels. Funnels, the sales tool of how to sell online. It's all about the funnels. So, Steph, what is the underlying things that we need before we do the funnels, before we start to work out what we put where?
Well, you have to find out what it is you're offering and selling, what the ultimate goal is.
Yep.
And then you work backwards and map out a strategy backwards.
I'm just going to interrupt for just a sec. How's your dessert going, guys? This is just about to be started.
Let's have your dessert.
Double chocolate, dark chocolate, double chocolate cake. Say that fast 10 times. I'll give you the recipe.
I thought I was the only one still eating. I'm like,
sorry?
Shoving face. I felt like I was the only one still shoving food in my mouth.
No, definitely not. This show is about shoving food in your mouth, so enjoy. Sorry, Steph, go on.
Oh, where was I? Pecan hazelnut braid or funnels?
What was your dessert, Michael?
I have chocolate and strawberries and coffee.
Yum, yum.
Yes.
Compared to your.
So, Steph, we were talking about the underlying what you need for your funnel.
Yeah, you need to have the end goal first. What is the point? What is the strategy? What do you want people to do as the ultimate end bit for each and every funnel? And a lot of people go, funnel, I don't need a funnel. What's a funnel? Everywhere has a funnel. The shopping centers have a funnel. It's where you buy gum and magazines on your checkout. When you go to an amusement park and you exit a ride, it's the gift store where they want you to buy a bunch of souvenirs for that ride and a picture of yourself. That is a funnel. They show you something valuable, they give it to you for free, and then they want you to buy something on your way out as you go through it. It's the same exact thing. It's when people find out about you, they don't know about you, they find out about you, they interact with you, and they keep taking steps where you've got this wide audience here and it keeps going down and down. People will leave, that's fine. But as you get further down into your main big goal for a particular funnel or even just your business, it narrows down and your price points get higher as well, to where you ultimately want them at your anchor service or offering or product or program or whatever you're selling.
Let's talk about the first part of the funnel. So the first part of the funnel is the first page that people go onto.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most important things to have on that first page?
The most important thing is to let people know exactly the juicy result that they're going to get from this thing. That's the only thing people care about. Same with your website. Don't talk about yourself. Talk about what's in it for them. 100%. Headline, what it is you're giving them, the juicy result of it, and a single call to action. I've had clients who want to put so many things on an opt-in page or a landing page, like, well, can we put in this, you know, the 9 steps to this, and they can sign up for that, or we can put this in there. You are distracting people. Say the goal is to get them on the phone. The whole goal of that page is to get on the phone. You don't want them to click anything else except for book a call.
Yeah.
And people want to just throw everything in, and that is the single most important thing I want to say is every single page of your funnel has one single call to action. Don't put any other links. Don't link your logo anywhere. Don't put anything else other than what you want them to do as a single focus.
On that, in the beginning, we have a freebie that we will put onto the funnel, so people will sign in and they get that freebie. So I have a question. What is the line between giving too much IP on that freebie and not giving enough?
The way we're moving with I don't know about you, but I have probably about 5 or 6 different folders in various places on my computer, and each of them have like 500 freebies and PDFs and checklists, and I don't look at any of them. And I also get 300,000 emails every day because I've opted into so many things. People are starting to be a lot pickier with giving over their email address for a very superficial freebie. This is where that value thing comes in. Do not be afraid to give them something really valuable. You can give them a whole heap of information that may be your IP, and that's fine. But if you do what you do and you have the right strategy behind this thing that you're creating, and not only are you just growing your list and getting their email address so you can market to them later, which is the mentality that most people have. You also, I think everybody should do a video, like a training, of like turn your PDF into a mini video training, something short, because that's creating that human-to-human connection. They can hear you talk, they can see you, they get to know you, and I look at a PDF or a checklist that somebody made that tells me nothing about that brand or that business, and it doesn't move me any closer to being like, I want to hire these people for some high-ticket program, right? When I can see you and get to know you, that freebie instantly is more valuable. It's a training. I'm giving my time to you, and it's easily consumed. They can watch it once. It doesn't get hidden somewhere on the computer, never to see again. They know who you are. And yeah, give them good value. Go ahead and give more than you think you should, but don't turn it into a 2-hour freebie where you're telling, it's like a full-on, you don't need me anymore. You're not going to get that out of a freebie. You can give IP, give more value than you think, because then it's not valuable anymore. I guess what I want to say is that it should be something that you can charge for, but you're not. You're giving it away for free. If it's not something that you can charge 20 bucks, 40 bucks, 90 bucks for, you need to do better, especially now. There's too many people with such BS, chintzy little freebies going around in checklists that people don't want that anymore.
I wonder whether it's just people are not, they want to give away some of their IP, but at the same time, they don't want to give away an entire course they're doing or entire something they've got.
Well, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that.
Parts.
That's further down the funnel. You give them a taster, but something valuable enough where they're like, I need more. And you can't get that from the surface. You know what I mean? Like looking at a donut through the window is different than you giving me a little bit on a toothpick to taste, right? I'm more likely to buy a dozen donuts if I tasted that thing, right? And then just looking at it through the window.
So with the funnels, with the I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, there,
donuts.
there's two types that I see. There's one that looks like War and Peace, like they're really, really long, and I just like I don't know anyone who reads all of that. And then there are the much shorter ones, straight to the point, and that's it. Which do you think is a better funnel? Only because I've seen amazing people who've had the short ones and amazing people who've had the really long ones.
It depends on what it is. Like, how long is a piece of string? I might, if you make a 10-page PDF for something that you can get across in a page and a half, or just a page, get rid of the fluff. People don't have time for that. But if you have a 10-page PDF that really should have been 20, but you're giving the steps and the things that people need, like I've seen people give away really like a 20-page how to write content, and it goes really in depth on the different pieces, and it's super valuable, and it's long, and it's free, and it's stuff that even though she gives me exactly how to do it, I'm still going to need help with it. And some people might not, but they weren't ever going to buy from you anyway, so don't worry about it.
And I think people do, they spend too much time worrying than actually just putting it out there and seeing whether it works or it doesn't work.
Well, not putting it out there will get you nobody.
And it won't work. Too true, too true. So we've talked about the first page and we've got a call to action on it. And then what does the second page entail?
The second page is a gold mine. That is your gold mine page that a lot of people overlook. Every time I see somebody that after you submit and then you get to the next page and they say, awesome, thank you, go check your inbox, have a nice day. Every single person that is a gold mine page. You can put whatever you want right there in front of them. They will see it. They have to see it. They hit submit, done deal.
So what types of things would you put there? Being that it's a really important page.
I would put my sales page. I would put the next step. I would put some low cost next step, logical next step. Because, hey, wait, now that you've got this, here's something even better. It's more in depth. It complements that, and it's only $37. Something really easy to get people to say yes. Don't go selling something for $1,000 on the next page after a freebie. Sell something that turns these people, getting them used to buy from you, make it really easy and low priced, and you're making money off of it. You're not leaving money on the table.
And your third page?
Your third page is, it depends. If people are buying something, it's the checkout with maybe an order bump or an upsell. If it's not something that they're buying and it's some kind of landing page to like book a call or watch a training, the next page could be any number of things, but that's what you have to map out when you know what your end goal is and how big your funnel is. It could only be a couple pages. It could be 10 pages.
I think if I've just realized, you know how when you, the analogy, you know, when you call American Express or whoever, and it's like, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, you press 1, you press 2, press 1 for this, press 2, and there's different levels that you just keep going down. And in telecommunications, we say, you know, you should have 2, 3 levels, but, you know, now they have so many, it's crazy. With funnels, how many pages is optimum? Because really, it is like a piece of string. You can keep going and selling, but where is the optimum to actually stop and say thank you?
It depends on your strategy. I was on one today where I signed up for a free challenge. Yeah. And the next page was buy something for 27 with an order bump to 72. I said no thank you. It kept going. The next one was 97. The next one was something else. And then, okay, cool, before you leave, here's another one. It was like 5 upsells.
Even when you said no.
That's personally, I said no way at the beginning, but you click no thank you and it takes you to the next one, and you click no thank you. I could have pissed off, but I just kept clicking no thank you instead of yes. Just, I like seeing where funnels go, and that's excessive. Grace Lever is another one who has excessive upsells, like 5 or 6, but they also make a lot of money because people sometimes get that like next shiny object. Yeah, I'll take that too. Oh, this is a good deal. If you have really good copywriting and sales pages, it's just free money. but you're giving them something in return. So, and it's fully automated. So it just depends on how much do you actually have to give people. Do you have that much content and things to sell and put this thing together? So it depends on your strategy and what the end goal is.
It sounds like there are two different sales ways as well in a funnel. You've got the yes, I want this, yes, I want this. So you keep going one way. Or if they say no, well, if you don't want that, I'll try to sell you something else. So let's try to go this way where all the no's go. That's what it sounds like from what you've just said, yeah?
Yeah. But some people say yes, 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 yes.
But just to make sure to cover the people who say no. So it's interesting that the A to Z of where a funnel needs to go, but also to make sure of what we're doing in between, because we still need to build trust and we still need to give value as well.
I have to step away for 2 seconds. Will you excuse me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. 1 second.
I will come back to my final questions in just a moment. Michael, in regards to storytelling that we were talking about, are there any particular tools that you use for your content creation at all?
I mean, there's a lot of tools that I use. And to be honest, I actually think that the right tool is the one that's actually easiest and fastest to do things.
Right.
To speed it up. And an example of that is that I use Canva for a lot of social media, both for myself and for my clients. And, you know, I know how to use like the full Adobe Creative Suite. I've used it for years in creating things, but these new tools are actually emerging that make things faster. And anything that can actually save you time, I think, is excellent.
I've fallen for Canva as well.
Good thing about Canva as well is that like you can just use it yourself, but you can actually work with someone. You know, I work with clients where we have a shared folder, a shared space that we're actually like, you know, I can create the templates and help shape what they're doing, but they can actually just pick up that template and create it really quickly. And to do that, that makes things a lot faster. I love tools like Grammarly. That's something that's advertised a lot, I know, but it really is a useful tool because, you know, you're looking at the tone of voice, as we're talking about before in a brand, just simple things like full sentences and full stops and proper grammar.
I have a great tip. I have a great tip for you there. And someone said this and it stayed with me ever since. You know, when you read something back to edit it and then someone else may read it a bit differently, when you're reading something to edit it, read it aloud.
Yes.
Because it's amazing how many things you actually pick up when you read it aloud than when you read it to yourself.
I love that tip. It's great. And also getting someone else to read something, because if you're close to it, you're actually, your brain starts putting words in that are meant to be there that you may have missed.
Yeah. Or come back to it in a day or two instead of just keep going, because it's very true. You look at it and you're like, what am I writing here? What have I done? But then when you look at it with fresh eyes again, or have someone else look at it, they'll pick up things that you haven't as well. And I find too that we're so in our businesses that we might write something and, you know, this is it. But when we get someone else to read it, they're seeing it from a different perspective, a client perspective. So they're seeing things in it that you wouldn't have seen.
Exactly. You need that different perspective because we forget how much we know about our businesses, about the subject areas we're experts in, and assumptions. You know, we also forget the dumb questions that
such thing. Go on.
But
sorry, say that again. You went silent.
I went silent.
Yeah.
Sorry. There are questions that people are afraid to ask because they don't want to look stupid because like, oh no, I know everything about this topic and trying to be knowledgeable. You know, you want to come up with content ideas, start answering some of the questions that, you know, that people aren't going to be asking, but you know that they will find valuable. And
well, that's what I was going to say to Steph as well, is in regards to funnels. I don't know if she can hear me.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. You all right?
Entire house for a cord because my phone was about to die.
We love technology, huh? No, all good, all good.
About that.
My question was, we were talking about FAQs, And on a landing page, is it a really good idea to put FAQs of what you think your objections may be? So you've already answered those in the FAQs?
Of course, 100%. Deal with every objection you possibly can to get them to say yes.
And you reframe it around to actually change that the perspective in it as well. You know, if something, they're going to view it as a negative in the first place. If you don't address it, you know, it's still going to be there. You can't just ignore a question that you know might be obvious, but you can reframe it, and you can lead that, you know, change the perspective and help shape that journey.
And objections aren't actually bad. You know, if people have objections, it means they're interested. If not, they just wouldn't bother. So, you know, if someone has an objection, it's actually a good thing because it shows interest. And that's what there are lots of people who don't actually realize. They get scared of objections. But no, objections are not a bad thing at all. They're actually quite good.
Exactly. Like they're actually engaged with you and in the topic.
Definitely. We were talking, Steph, in regards to tools that you guys utilize. So, Michael, you were just talking about Grammarly a moment ago. Any other tools that you guys utilize?
I use Grammarly. That's good.
Anything else? What's some of your favorite tools?
In context to what?
In context to content creation, with funnels as well as branding. Anything that you guys use that's really quite that could help other people.
I use ClickFunnels for funnels. They are my absolute favorite. They are the most, they need the least amount of knowing how to code or do anything. It's super simple even to take payments. And when I create them for people, it's really easy to train them, and then they can do more on their own. It's very, very user-friendly. It's got a lot of features. That's one of my favorites when I build funnels. Active Campaign is the email, because you have ways of tagging people, and like Michael was saying earlier about sending out an email about a webinar, you can make sure that you don't send that email to watch it to the people who already have. You know, it's a lot of formulas and if this, then that, structures and automations. Active Campaign Stripe is the easiest to take payments for. Stripe is the only one I use. It's the most non-drama way of taking money and getting paid. Photoshop, Illustrator. I don't use Canva.
You do or don't?
I don't even know how.
Can I tell you? Once you start it, you'll love it. It's just.
I don't know.
Don't say I don't know until you try it.
I'm a Photoshop girl.
It's just no. I was Photoshop before, and I've started using Canva. And the first time I did things, like I was there for hours and hours and hours. But once I put it together, I can reuse it over and over again and just change things within it. And it's like, oh, I love it now. It just makes life a bit easier. So yeah. And Photoshop too.
Well, with Photoshop though, you know, the way to use it effectively is not to use all the presets and the things that are just obvious. Like, you need to know how to use it to get the most value out of it.
Right.
Canva, like, you can load in your brand fonts that you've licensed and brought in. You can upload vector like logos into it, so they are high quality. You know, there are features to set up the brand control so that your colors are literally always consistent, and to do that. So especially if you're empowering a team of people. So I wouldn't recommend using, you know, Canva for everything that you're doing. But if you've got some team members that need to create content quickly, who aren't necessarily, you know, they don't have a huge design knowledge about it, you can actually do things in a way that make it consistent and make it really effective in the way that it communicates.
It's brilliant for that. It's brilliant for the regular person to get really good graphics for their brand.
I think that you need to do it in consultation with someone who does actually know what they're doing and can help you set it up. So if you just go in and try and do it yourself, you know, you're not going to get amazing results. I mean, you'll have templates and things, but if you want something that really is actually custom fit to your brand, actually work with, you know, the branding agency to help set it up for you in the first place, so that it's going to guide you and it's going to be an effective tool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
for anyone using Canva for the first time, save everything, and you put it into a folder. And I say that because in the beginning, when I first used it, I was just keeping the tabs open and I wasn't saving. I didn't realize about just change the name on the top, resave it, and it'll save it as the new name. So always redo the name because you can make copies of things. And the first time I'd lost stuff, I was like, no. So yeah, now when you save everything and you say you can make a copy of something, change the name, and it's saved as the new one. So for anyone who's using Canva for the first time, just so you don't make the same mistake that I made, because I had to start from scratch on a few things and I didn't.
Same with Photoshop, same with Illustrator. When it freezes and you just want to throw your computer out the window and cry and drink like scotch straight out of the bottle. No.
You know, I even went, you know, even something as simple as, you know, your hard drive, I went and bought a second one. And so I've uploaded stuff onto the second one, because if the first one dies, then, you know, at least I've got the second one. So we need, yes, saving is our best friend. Definitely.
Another tool is this is the surface level, like the style again. If you want to have your brand looking consistent, like on Instagram, Lightroom is an app that's free, Adobe Lightroom, and you can buy presets. And you use the same type of presets for all your images, and that's where you get those really beautiful feeds that look really on brand.
Nice. Any other tools, guys?
I recommend automation tools, particularly for social media. There's tools like later.com, Later, and Hootsuite that, you know, allow you to actually schedule ahead of time. So
I have a question in regards to those. Scheduling is fantastic because it just takes time. It gives you more time, is what it does. Do Facebook like you to use a scheduling tool?
They like you to use their scheduling tool.
Yeah. I mean, they've enabled this to be there because they know that it is valuable. But Facebook,
Canva's just put one in too.
Yeah, I saw that. So you can plan the content. In fact, it has some fantastic tools to export things with like animations and little bits and pieces to use on stories, like Instagram and Facebook stories and things. It's fantastic for that. But Facebook, there are so many different factors that Facebook take into, you know, their evaluation of content. So say, you know, you're creating like a carousel of images on Instagram and there are 10 images, that if your audience are flicking to the first 3, but then they move on, Instagram thinks that it's not very good. But if they've actually got to the 8th photo out of the 10, they go like, oh, this must be excellent. And then they'll actually show it to a larger audience. So they'll often, all these platforms and their algorithm, they'll show it to like a subset of your audience. And if they like it, if they're engaging with it, and, you know, engagement's not necessarily just liking or commenting, but, you know, how long they're watching it, that sort of level of engagement, then they'll show it to a bigger audience or a bigger audience. Like, you know, LinkedIn, people are commenting, tagging people into it, that increases the audience size. And I've had, you know, things that I've posted on LinkedIn, like, you know, days ago, and suddenly someone comments, and then, you know, 50 other people have seen it and started liking it in that exact moment, because, you know, that one comment just reignited the algorithm to bump it up again. So like, there's so many different factors that go into that as well, that, you know, it's not as
knowing the algorithm and keeping up to date with the algorithm is like having a crystal ball.
Well, I think as well, people forget that, you know, that these platforms do change, and you can put all of your eggs in one basket as well. I know a connection of mine who lost their YouTube channel for a month. It was taken down because someone had put in an objection. It was a technicality that, you know, it shouldn't have gone through, but it was still a month before she got the channel back. And she realized in that she had no way of contacting the people who were subscribed to the channel, because she had to actually, you know, to connect and get their email addresses, to build other ways, you know, to engage the audience. And so, you know, you can't expect that these platforms are actually going to serve you. They serve themselves.
Well, they're just basically for your marketing. You know, when you get your email addresses, you should be directing people to get their email addresses, and so you've got that because that is your data. That's your IP, I guess, as well, which is really, really important. I just want to go back to the funnels for a moment as well, Steph. I'm just having a look through my notes here. You were also talking, and I've seen this on a couple of places too, put your, oh, sorry, this is in regards to websites. Put your prices on your websites. I've even seen people put on their LinkedIn banners.
Hello? No.
Gone sideways.
You've gone sideways, Steph. And you're frozen. Okay, we'll see if she comes back in a moment. Technology. Okay. Okay, let's get back to the tools, Michael. Are there any other tools at all?
Well, as I was saying with the automation tools, that I think it's actually, they're really handy because you, rather than, you know, like it's going to take a lot of effort and energy to write a post if, you know, at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, you want to post, so you sit down and try and write it. You actually, it's a much better process to sit down and plan a week, 2 weeks, a month in advance and say, this is when the content will be. And if you can literally put it all in, you've got that thought that goes into it, and then it just happens. And I've lost Steph completely. Hopefully she'll come.
Oh, no, I think she'll come back because I think she couldn't get out of the frozen state. So she's coming back. Yeah, sorry, Michael.
So yeah, I think that's really important in actually planning it. And it doesn't mean that has to be your entire social media, as in like all of your posts, but it provides a baseline that's actually there. And you don't have to be, you know, just on all the time or have someone who's actually posting for you at exactly the right time. You can just organize your day better, organize your week better by planning ahead and having that consistency. That's how you get that to happen.
No, I know someone who sits on a Friday and does all their social media for the week on the Friday, so it's all done. I think for me, I just wonder at times that if Facebook don't like, oh, here's Steph, if Facebook don't like you putting it into other automation tools, then how much do they share it?
Well, I mean, the proof's going to be in the pudding, and I don't necessarily see that a lot. What I'd actually be more mindful of is, you know, a lot of people will post on Instagram and then automatically send it to Facebook. But, you know, you'll have their username, you know, that works on, that's the way that it links. You got, the background keeps changing, Steph, it's great. That, you know, that literally symbol username on Instagram will go across to your Facebook post and it doesn't link automatically. And, you know, that's just a bad experience. And, you know, so if you can go into each platform and make sure that you're tagging people appropriately, tagging brands appropriately, remembering that, you know, URLs don't work on Instagram unless you've got like 10,000 followers. You know, it's just, you know, be mindful of those differences between the platforms. And I think that's when you need to start doing that. So if you're shaping your content intentionally, mindfully, the fact that you've scheduled it ahead of time, Facebook's not going to matter. It's the other quality controls and the other quality measures that they've got going that are really going to influence it.
No, that's fair enough too. It also means that, you know, if you've written your social media and there's something you need to edit or change, you can do that before it goes live as well. Thank you for that. I just wanted to remind you guys, if you've got any questions for either Michael, Steph or myself, please put it into Facebook. I've got it in front of me. Hello, everybody. So please put it into Facebook, any questions, and I will ask on your behalf as well. I'm going to go third time lucky. I'm going to go back to the funnels. Let's see if this works. Okay, so what is the best process for a great funnel?
The best process for a great funnel is to start and have a freaking strategy and map it out. Some people just build them willy-nilly with no objective, and copywriting is important as well.
So what are the important things to have in that strategy for a funnel?
You need to know what the end goal is. What do you want people to do? Work backwards from there and figure out how you're going to ascend value ladder them to that point, whether it's 1 point in or 5 points in. You want to make sure you know exactly what they are and how you're going to get them to click that next button, and what it is you're giving and what comes after that and what comes after that. And then in between, you need to nurture them. You've got to have, like, you know, email sequences. They're being added to a list. You've got the tech behind it. You need to make sure it's all automated and set up. There's nothing worse than going to a funnel, clicking a button, and you go to an error page, or it doesn't go where you want. You're like, what are you doing? Like, I wanted this thing.
Always test it out for yourself as well.
Yeah, test it. Make sure everything's going to the right places. Get your emails going. Make sure those emails are written intentionally to get them, give value, value, value. Really let them get to know you. Put your offer in, especially if they haven't bought it on that second page. If you are selling something on the second page. So you've got all these different touch points. It's like a full-on flow chart. Map it out. Make sure you have that before you start.
What's important to be putting on a thank you page, which is your final page?
Well, it depends on the strategy and where that thank you page is. The thank you page, if it's just after opting into your freebie, should be a sales page for something else. That's what that thank you page should be. If they've gone through 5 steps, they've purchased, they're now a customer, and they're waiting for an email, you put whatever you want. They're in it. Maybe direct them to check out something else of yours, maybe give them something else of value, you know, tell them what to expect for moving forward in the process so they're not just left hanging.
I like that. It's really important. So I find there are a lot of people who put thank you pages and that's it, nothing else.
Join your Facebook group if you have one. That's the perfect place for it.
To have a call to action.
Of some sort. To keep them in your world. You want to keep them in your world.
And that's a really great thing you just said as well, because I find that with a lot of funnels, the thank you page is just stop and it's the end, whereas we need to keep them, as you say, within our world. So call to action is really important on those pages as well. Is there anything else in regards to funnels that's really important that we haven't spoken about as yet?
I think copywriting is very important. If you can afford it, get copywriting. If you can't, actually, I take that back. You can afford it because they have copywriters on Fiverr if you need one. And there are good ones. I'm not saying they're the best. And certainly you can pay $5,000 for a copywriter and you can pay $400 and still get really good. More than likely, it'll be better than what you can write unless that's what you're really good at.
Okay. Anything else?
I'd say make it, I'm personally biased of like I judge a book by its cover. Maybe it's because I'm very visual and a designer. Some people do, but then again, there are some very, very fugly funnels out there that are making millions. So that's not really at the top of the list, even though it really hurts me to say that because I like pretty things and designing these pages so they look fabulous. But I'd say definitely the goals, the copywriting, the strategy, all the steps have to be sorted.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Steph. Michael.
Tell people about it. So many people build these things and then tell 2 people in one post and then like it doesn't work. I'm like, are you sending traffic to it? That is probably up there in the list of send traffic to your funnel.
If you've got a funnel and you're not sending any traffic to it, why build your funnel?
You would be absolutely surprised at pretty much 95% of everybody you talk to, or when I used to build websites for 15 years, build a website, now let's market it. What? I'm not marketing. I don't need to market it. I don't have a budget for marketing. Okay.
People don't know what they don't know.
You're going to tell people about this thing. It's not build it and they will come.
People don't know what they don't know. That's why having this show for me is so important, to give people that updated information so they can improve their businesses and they can increase their lead generation as well. Just in regards to the website, Steph, you had mentioned last week that it is important to put your prices on your website.
It
Is
depends.
that just to like get rid of everybody but your avatar?
It depends on what your industry is and if you want to. It's a personal preference.
Okay.
I put mine on because there was a good number of years there where I was getting client calls and wasting so much time on calls when they weren't even the right person for me. I was out of their price range. I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I don't have time to talk to a bunch of people if they're not going to be a valid customer or client. Like, it positions me in the marketplace exactly where I want to be, having my prices there. People know I am not down here, but I also don't charge 50 grand for a website.
Yeah.
They know exactly where I am in the marketplace and my value, and my branding expresses that. But not everybody does. Sometimes you can put starting from this price point just so people know, do I pick up the phone and get on a call or not?
And I guess it's what works for you as well. So if you're wanting to speak to people, then you may not want to put your prices up. If you find that you are wasting time with the wrong people, then you may want to. So I guess it's part of what you're wanting to do as well in the objective.
Another thought on that too is that sometimes I've had feedback before being in some business groups where if the prices aren't there, they might think, oh God, there's no price. I have to get a call. It's going to be 10 grand. And I won't even call, but it might have been a right fit and it might have been a good price. So you're also losing people that are making assumptions that you have no idea what they're thinking.
Fair enough too. Thank you for that, Steph. Michael, is there anything else you want to add in regards to storytelling and creative content?
Well, I think the thing that strikes me with that as well is that these aren't all separate topics either. That the principles of good copywriting and good storytelling, they go the whole way through your funnels. That, you're talking about putting prices on a website, Mystique is overrated, to be honest. That if you put your prices, at least some of your prices there, it's a chance to actually engage with the value that you provide for that. You can actually think about ways to maximize that opportunity. If you're going to be scaring off people, they're not going to buy from you anyway, if it's too expensive. But if you can actually break it down and actually show them, no, this is the value that you're going to get from it. This is the way it can transform your business. This is the way that, things can be different. You can actually almost start persuading them. It's that persuasion of actually maybe going to Fiverr isn't the best idea for your business, that you're just gonna, you're not going to get the value out of that in the long run. That, they're actually, it's all about that signaling. And I think the other thing that's really important is to be respectful of people, because
100%.
So when you've got a funnel, if someone doesn't buy from you, don't rule out the fact that they may eventually come a long way around to be a customer in the long run, or to tell someone else about it as well. That, be polite, be respectful. And, if someone unsubscribes from your email list, that's not a problem. Obviously nice if they stayed, but if you were, you convey any kind of arrogance or pettiness in that unsubscribing process, you're going to burn a bridge. But if you're sort of thank you for being part of the community, you're welcome back anytime, that sort of messaging, it's inclusive. It allows for an ongoing conversation.
You're just not going to burn that bridge. You're going to burn every bridge that person talks about to everybody else.
100%.
You've got to be really careful.
People do talk, and
especially about bad stuff.
Yes, exactly. And so what they say is that for every bad review, bad comment that a business might get, there's probably 100 times that of people who have had good experiences, but they're not motivated to write that. They're not motivated to go do it. And someone giving you a bad review for whatever reason, say you're a restaurant and a customer had a bad experience, that's not in itself a problem. The problem comes in how you respond to it. So if you're you know, that's an opportunity. If someone's written you a bad review, you haven't had any other avenue for them to give you feedback. They're giving you feedback. Step in and do something to actually have action. So even if that person isn't sold on whatever the solution actually is, so even if that doesn't resolve that to a point that's amicable for that customer, the way, like, other people are seeing the way that you're responding, the timeliness of responding, and the way that you're framing that as well. Like, these are all messages.
Branding.
It's all branding. Exactly.
Yeah, it's so true. And yeah, so true. And also, you know, if you get a bad review and you answer them back, then more people are likely to utilize you. But, you know, I've seen bad reviews where none of the companies bothered to answer back or anything else, and you're just like, next. So really interacting with that person to want to know more about what happened is a good thing, and take it offline, not online. So please email me or please give us a call and we'll discuss, or something like that, because you don't want a war online, and you never know what people are going to say or how they're going to take things online.
People are crazy online.
Even with emojis, there's no tone. Like, emojis, you know, they might give you a little bit of tone, but they're really not tone. So we really need to talk to each other, you know, face to face or on the phone or via Zoom. You know, we have so much available. I'm in lockdown, and, you know, I still have Zoom and phone and technology and everything else that I can utilize, and having a conversation with people in Sydney and Gold Coast at the same time. So we can do things still, and we can make sure to give our customers great service. And I just also want to ask, is there anything else you want to add in regards to branding at all, guys?
Get it done. It's a good investment.
Cool.
It'll be worth it. You'll get more out in the end. Just do it.
Michael?
You need to care about it, because you have a brand, whether it's intentional or not, whether you've paid a lot for it or not. You know, that branding is there. And a good brand, something that's actually really thoughtfully designed, really thought about the fit, the architecture, the brand architecture, how all the naming fits together, the way that, you know, all the little details in it, that will serve you for a very, very long time. If it's done right, you're setting the foundation for whatever direction your business is going to go in. And it can be, like, you know, become one of your most valuable business assets that you have. Like, ultimately, that, you know, it's not just for the Microsofts and the Apples of the world to have, you know, $1 trillion brands. It's actually that, you know, you can.
They got that way because they have a brand that has a loyal following that buys everything they put out.
Exactly. And
you need branding for marketing. You need it for sales. You need it for business, to make everything easier.
And that's the point, to make it all easier. When it's all aligned, it's easier, and we have clarity.
And confidence.
And confidence as well, yeah. Guys, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to check Facebook and see. We have a few people watching, so hello. And Annie Callis says great. Annie Callis says great information, Steph, of some stuff you were talking about just a moment ago as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank my friends Steph Zahalka and Michael Harris for some fantastic information. Thank you. If you would like to know more about branding and design, please get in contact with Steph Zahalka, and make sure you mention Business Dining with Deb. Steph, how can they get in touch with you?
They can, on all the socials.
All
the socials. I can list all my Bitly funnels, or you can just go to my website, jungledesignstudios.com, and there's a million places on there to contact me. Find me on Facebook, Steph Zahalka. Or you can join my group. Join my Facebook group, the Badass Business Society. I've got lots of good stuff in there, and it's fun.
Good. And also there's on LinkedIn as well, which if you get stuck
on all the socials.
On all the
I'm everywhere.
She's branding. She's everywhere. Michael, if you'd like to know more about creating stories that are emotive, please get in contact with Michael Harris. Michael, how can people get in contact with you?
I have to say, I hope that we are across all of the socials and everything. Like, we're saying that we're the experts here. Just look for Axle Creative, axle creative.com. Also on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on all of them. Or you can search for me, Michael Harris, on LinkedIn as well. I'd love to also have a book group as well. It's called Accelerate. But if you can find it from Axle Creative, I'd love for people to engage with that too.
Fantastic. And also too, if you're watching this on YouTube, their details will be below in the description as well. So this will be put on YouTube in the next week or so. All good. I also wanted to let everybody know of an amazing opportunity that we have coming up in October. And if you're listening to this after October on the replay, there will be more opportunities. So please get in touch with us. Both myself and the wonderful Jeff Hetherington have a 12-month business program called the Aussie Business Accelerator, which will absolutely be amazing. We are bringing you 36 plus experts in every area of your business, because we want to make sure that you get the most updated information straight away with actionable points that you can actually make a difference in your business and help your business grow. So if you would like to know more about this program, please get in touch with either Jeff Hetherington or myself, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Or again, if you're looking at this, if you're watching this on the replay on YouTube, it's in the description underneath where you can. And again, if it's after October, please still get in touch, because we will have a waiting list for the next one as well. And it is just, I can't tell you how excited I am for this program to be doing it for you guys. It's just, it's so exciting. Exciting because we get to make a positive difference, especially in a time at the moment with what everyone's going through too. So we're building a community of great experts, of great people that can actually help you through this as well. So get in touch with us. And right now it's really important more than ever for businesses to be working together. A big thank you to our sponsor tonight, Home Cooked Meals Made with Love. So it's all about, whether we're helping businesses buying takeaway meals or whether we're putting that extra bit of love into our food for home cooked meals, people are making amazing stuff at the moment. You'll appreciate this, Steph. My 11-year-old nephew started making tacos from scratch. Loves it. I've got to get the recipe from him. My name's Debbie Small, and I'm the founder of Empowerment Point and this live show, Business Dining with Deb, Business Treats and Takeaways. And don't forget, if you want to watch any other episodes, please go on to my YouTube channel, Empowerment Point TV, and subscribe so you'll know what's coming up in regards to our videos as well. And remember, in life and in business, you need a great sense of humor, and you also need persistence. So keep moving forward, guys. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye.